as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius.
All righty. Hey, it's the last day of July 2026. It's Spence. Welcome to Office Hours for WP Launch Fi. Very pleased. No, I have lots of weird stories. No power outage, no electricity problems, no computer problems. Everything is good today. Got off to the right foot. No power outage, no electricity problems. No sounds like I've also got the sound going. I am logged into the wrong account here, so I'll switch to that. But that's just so I can comment with you guys. Give me a double check if you're listening already, that you can see and hear okay. Today I am well prepared with slides. It's going to be a great show today. Also, very topical. Had some great conversations with our friends, including Ann Stevenson. Ann, I hope you are here. Hello. Good. She's here. All right. Fantastic. That's a great start. All right, Ann. So today I come bearing gifts, but let me set the stage of what we're going to do. So much has been built and so much progress has been made in the world. And with the summer, yikes, dwindling to an end, my youngest son is coming back from camp this week, which is both an amazing feeling and also freaks me out because where did the 8 weeks go? Good morning, Claude. And good morning, Ann. And anybody else who's here who's like to say hello, I welcome that. The conversation has been had about what tools to use, how to use them, where to use them, why to use them, what is the benefit, what are we doing? And all of this is really difficult for me to a certain extent because not only am I building a number of crazy tools to try to keep up with stuff, but the world itself and the metaphors are changing quickly. And I think in some ways, in a good fashion, they're changing. I was just on the WP Tonic Roundtable show yesterday, and it got a little controversial, but we are going to talk today about the economics of the world and the pressures from the Chinese LLMs versus the Anthropics and the ChatGPTs and what it means to you, because we're all going to be facing a lot of choices. And one of the things that I've been really emphasizing from day one, and not because I'm a fortune teller, but just because it made sense to me, is that we need to have all of the options available to us in a singular box that you own and control to do what you want. So the basic premise today, the number one concept of today, is putting everything that you own into a box, or having your client stuff in a box with the appropriate modern tools, with the appropriate drivers. And now today, what I'm going to go through step by step is how that applies to the managerial tools, the coordination tools, the archival tools, how you can have any agent using any tool anywhere working on the box that you own and control, or that your client does. Okay, so I'm going to do my little magic trick here where I'm going to switch over to the live slides, and then I'm going to also, in that browser window, I'll be able to share the desktop, which would be fantastic. Okay, so let's cross our fingers that StreamYard doesn't make this more difficult for me than it always does. It's like, if I only worked there, I could tell them what exactly is going on. Share the screen. And I'm going to share this. I don't like this as much, but it's the most effective way because this actually has the extra browser stuff at the top, but it gives me the most effective way to kind of manage everything. If StreamYard would just make it possible to share or switch between multiple screens, I wouldn't have to do this dance every week. And I'm going to do one other thing here real quick. Sorry for my little setup, but I promise you it'll be worth it because I won't have to dance later. Okay. Let's go to the beginning of our slideshow. Spence needs to reset it. Welcome, Office Hours today. And also, let me just scale that up a little bit. There we go. Connecting all of your tools all of the time. Good morning, Lloyd. Every agent you already own, pointed at every site you already own, one key, one paste. Now, I'm going to alternate between the slides and the reality. So I'm going to actually use MinuteLaunch here because this has all of the goodies in it, and it's my own laboratory. So the plumber is using his own stuff. And I'm going to go on the admin dashboard here. All right, so here's the basic premise for today. We all know you've got an enormous number of AI tools that are trapped into separate boxes. We all know the frontier models. You have Anthropic, you have ChatGPT, you've got Perplexity, Gemini, and God forbid, but you could be using Grok. Those are the 5 frontiers, and the ones that are offering not only the most interesting stuff, but also the most controversial stuff, because their motives are not really, let's be honest, aligned with you. They're aligned with the fact they've taken $1 quadrillion, if that's a word, and they're trying to essentially get as many people locked in as possible so that when they do slam the door shut, which they will, and crank up the token cost, then they will justify why they took $1 quadrillion from private equity. Don't get me started on the nefarious possibilities of what the data centers are really doing, but I am going to talk about that. Imagine the first phones, the cell phones. Now, I don't know about you, but I remember pictures of people going like, hello? And I remember my dad had a car that had one of these radio phones. It was actually a base station. It wasn't a base station. It was a two-way radio that talked to a base station where there was an operator who would then connect with the phone the call. But the thing was, yay big. Over time, they eventually got down to, we all agree, they look like this, they act like this. This has more power than all the space programs combined. Where we are today is that the metaphor people think is happening, which I think is wrong, it's not going to happen that way, is that they're spending $1 gajillion on this gigantic throw everything at it model in the cloud. So we're having a situation where Anthropic and Open AI and Perplexity and Gemini and everybody else are trying to justify gajillions of dollars of investment by having endless amounts of data at like fire hose, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensibility. In other words, if a little teeny tiny straw would do like, oh, look, I took a sip of data and I did everything I want. They're like, no, why don't you just take a fire hose and spray it at you at a cost that is ridiculous, both for the data, the heat, the electricity, and everything. The Chinese are sitting around watching and laughing at us because they watch what happens and they see, oh, you needed a sip of water and you went to the fire plug and opened it up and like sprayed yourself in the face. What if we just imitate what you're doing best and turn it into this little teeny tiny straw of like, delicious. And that's what's happening with, for example, Kimi 3.0. Kimi 3 is competing head to head with Fable 5. The price of the model, if I looked at this OpenRouter, this is not going to show it, but if I go on OpenRouter, I think I did this last week. I think it's $18 round trip. Okay. So if I look for Kimi 3, the round trip cost is, roughly $18. So if you add 14 and 3, you get 17. Call it $17. Okay. Let's look at Fable, which, by the way, they had to amend their pricing. Fable 5 is $60 from Anthropic. If you had 50 and 10, $60. Now, there are other models you can look at, even like Grok. Grok is trying to be competitive, Grok 4.5. And they're like, listen, we got to keep up with these guys. So they're $8. The only problem being it's going to murder your whole family while you sleep. But as far as coding is concerned, when you look at the reviews, Grok 4.5, Kimi 3 are on par with Fable. So Fable's at 60, and that's subsidized, 18 or 17 and 8. Well, guess where it's all going? It's going to 0 because there are models that are free. There are models that are nearly free. Like if you looked at DeepSeek, okay, DeepSeek V4 Pro, the Pro. Look at the price. It's got it's got decimals in front of it. Okay. So it's 87 cents and 43. It's like $1.20. And yes, this is not quite on par, but let's say this is 80% on par, 80% on par with Fable. $60 versus $1.20. In a sluggish economy, Joel, don't mess with another man's livelihood. What I'm saying is we're going to zero. And size-wise, data-wise, we just had a power outage here. My laptop, my MacBook M2, and now there's an M4 chip, is super efficient. It's a cell phone level chip. That will run 18 hours on a charge. I made it through the whole power outage without really worrying about whether I would not have anything I could work on. My PC, my brand new Asus $2,500 machine with a I forgot what it is, but a G5700 graphic card in it, runs 32 minutes when it's not plugged in. In the future, all of us will have devices with the LLM technology built in. We will not, I guarantee you, we will not be paying cloud pricing. And if we do, it's going to be because there is some other concierge arrangement wrapped around it. What does this mean to this whole thing today? Today, you get subsidized deals that if you don't lock yourself into are a good arrangement. Like, for example, if you go to Anthropic, and I'm logged in, but here you're not logged in. If you go here, this is a good company. I love what they do. When you look at their pricing, they have 3 or 4 tiers of pricing that are highly subsidized and incredibly convenient. I'll show you why. Free, which doesn't really get you shit. Pro, 17, doesn't really get you shit, but if you go with it, at least you get something. Max, from $100. I think I have Max, and I think I have one level above this. There might even be like an Ultra, Max 20. Okay. I think I paid $200 a month. But the point is, it doesn't matter because they have got an incredible suite of tools. You guys know this because compared to OpenAI, Anthropic has got it going on. So we've got in the browser, we've got Claude Chat, we've got Claude Code, we've got co-work. When you're in chat, you can do Anne was asking me this morning. You could schedule stuff, you can do projects, you can do artifacts, you can share, you've got skills. They've got an incredible, here's co-work here. They've got like, so you got regular chat, you get co-work. Co-work allows you to have multiple tasks being done simultaneously. Chat is like you and me, baby. Okay. You can choose from their models, which in this environment are incredibly subsidized. The usage you get here is directly proportional to where you're using it. So if I go over here and I look at my, I don't know if it'll show here, if I go to my settings or my billing, but the point is, when I look at my usage inside of, I guess this is going to show it to me here. When I look at my usage inside of Claude, the tool, it's interesting. I can't seem to find where it's, oh, here it is. Okay. I get an incredibly larger amount of usage. So I'm paying $200, right? I don't know what I'm using. I'm using like the super duper duper plan, the Ultra. They don't offer it anymore, I don't think. But the point is, I definitely use it. Here's my usage. See where it says all models, 22%, Fable, 8%. This runs so much more stuff per token than if I tried to use Fable outside through OpenRouter or through something else like Cursor. So the point is, incredible tool set, incredible connectivity, works in the browser, works in the Chrome extension, works in desktop, works in my phone. Shh, don't say anything. But when I go to the gym, I use their amazing, even though Fernando's got his own tool, I use their amazing Claude in the phone and I talk to him and I invent shit that I then connect to my MinuteLaunch site. So why am I saying this? Because you've got now MinuteLaunch as a box. You've got probably, I hope, Claude with all the desktop. Maybe you, like me, I use ChatGPT. In fact, I use him for doing a lot of really interesting work, like creating the UGC video scripts. He's really okay for that. So if I go to my recent chats, here's what I was working on just before. I actually do not like ChatGPT for 99% of stuff, but he's really good at this. And I've already got an account here, and my son uses it because I think I pay $50 a month for this. So I've got Anthropic, I've got ChatGPT. Honestly, sorry, John Lawler, if you're here, I do not use Perplexity ever, never, never, but I do use Gemini, and I have been using occasionally Grok, but I do not use Grok in a paid mode. I have Gemini in the paid mode just because I've got those tools. So I'm using 4 out of the 5, and I don't know why I don't use Perplexity, but it just feels like it's a second-class citizen. But of the big ones, I've got all 4 of those. So I got Fernando and all these tools, and I end up having to copy and paste and copy and paste and copy and paste and where did I do this thing? Then I've got my desktop. I've got on my desktop, I've got, John is the biggest fan of Perplexity, by the way, which in fairness, maybe it's nice. I don't know. I could never fall in love with it. And I think I pay for it too. Ask Perplexity. I honestly don't know whether or not I'm doing a live show now. Can't talk. I don't think I have a paid account for this. And if I did, it doesn't matter. I don't use it. But John uses it for his thing. So God bless you, John. Claude Design, by the way, which this is relevant to the conversation. There we go. Lloyd saying, what about Claude Design? Could not get my head around Claude Design. I don't know, Lloyd, if you're having good luck with it. Here's why I couldn't get my head around Claude Design. And getting very expensive. Okay, well, you're going to see why. So we understand we've got lots of tools. Claude Design, I don't even know where do I reach that, to be honest. I tried it. Claude Design. I tried it once, and I could not get my head around the value proposition here. Because we can do the same stuff inside of the WordPress site much better. I did actually try it, and I found it to be supremely annoying to me. It doesn't mean it's not great. It just means I could not get my head wrapped around it. So I stopped using it because, as I'll show you, using MinuteLaunch with regular Claude, we get a much better result, at least in my opinion. But in any event, it's interesting to note that you're using it, and that is valuable because it is true that, going back to my point, all of these connections, all of this stuff. Then on the desktop, as I was mentioning, you've got you've got maybe Goose, you've got Cursor if you're still using Cursor. There was another one that I had been using, and I forgot what it was called. I turned you guys on to it, and it was called like Code. I forgot what it was called. If you guys remember what I told you about, it was another alternative to Cursor, and I didn't need to use it since MinuteLaunch Lab has been doing so well. Maybe I'll find it again. But I had given you guys a couple, maybe months ago. I can't even think what it's called. So, and my computer is not making this easy. So I'm going to stay on track. If you guys remember, put it. Oh, OpenCode. Thank you. My brains are softening. OpenCode. OpenCode.ai. Thanks. Obviously, I have not used this since, but nevertheless, OpenCode AI. So OpenCode, Goose, Cursor, those are desktop tools. Then think of all the assets that you save, which I've taught you guys to put up into GitHub, which is your mother load of everything. So if I go to WP Launchify, I look at my repositories, and I've got and by the way, this is so small because of whatever. If I go like this, I've got something like 125 repositories. Like every single thing I do is saved as a repository because this is my way of making sure that I do not lose anything. Okay, imagine now, and by the way, thank you, by the way, Claude, appreciate it. Imagine now one key that you generate with one click allows you to connect everything through the free plugin manager. And you paste that into any tool. And with the exception of like Claude, the real live Claude learned, you have to enable the capability of Claude or remove the protection of Claude so that you can use it on any URL. Because the problem is if you don't, it'll be like, I can't connect. I'm still protected. And that allows any agent to automatically connect once. But now, instead of just connecting to one site, we can connect to everything and everything can coordinate. So 3 steps, about 90 seconds. I'll walk you through this. You generate a key, you paste it into any agent, anywhere, anytime, and it will immediately discover stuff. This is a jillion miles away from where we started a year ago. Okay, so plugin manager. And I'll zoom that out a bit. I always click update plugins just to make sure that we're on the right thing. Lloyd's using Perplexity for research. I don't begrudge you guys using any tool. Here's my open letter. I imagine a world very quickly where, like, I was joking, but not joking. I'm going to be in the car. Maybe I'll have an electric car. I'm gonna go to my Instagram. Like I went to the Oshkosh Air Show with my friend Steve Grant, who's also a client. And this is what's gonna happen. It's gonna be this. It's gonna be me and Fernando, but this was Steve Grant, in his Tesla, talking to Grok through the screen, and Grok is talking to Fernando. And all of this is going to be the reality on your phone, on your headset, in the car. You're going to be running your business, not by logging into the screen and talking anything. You're going to be doing it by logging in and talking through anything, anywhere. And your agent is going to have all of the stuff that I'm showing you now, which is why we're connecting. So I do not care or worry about whether you're using Perplexity, you're using Claude. That's the point. The point is I'm trying to make this agnostic, but I will say to you that the tools you use, like Perplexity, should connect to the tools inside of MinuteLaunch for creating and managing their stuff. I don't know, John, if it was just because I turned on Instagram or something. Maybe that's what happened. But I just showed a video from Instagram of me and Fernando in the Tesla Model X. Okay, next. And let me screen this out a little so I can get maximum width out of this. I'm maximizing my use of the space. Okay, once we've done that, just to make sure we have the latest and greatest. By the way, you always know you have the latest and greatest besides the green note. If you click last updated and you see today's date, you know that you've just updated. We go into the third item here, which is a little hard to see, called connect your agent. Magic has happened here. All of this is now as simple as, and by the way, you don't have to use this option that says limit to specific scopes. But if you wanted to, you could uncheck the types of things it does. Out of the box, it does all of the types of things. And notice there is the list of keys that I've previously generated. So you can always access them, but you don't even have to worry about that. You literally just click this button and you generate. Everything works with one copy. Now, even though the key is shown to you, what you're copying is this thing that says copy connection bundle. You click that, okay? And it'll say copied, paste into your AI. Let's go to Claude. Now, here's the one thing you have to do if you're using Claude. You have to go in your profile. Under settings, capabilities, okay? Profile, settings, capabilities. You need to scroll down to where it says domain allow list. And if you turn this network egress off, your screen is going to look different. Your screen is going to look like this. So you need to turn on allow network egress, which essentially allows it to do things everywhere. And you need to change from package manager only to all domains. And you'll get a notice that says, warning, Claude can access all domains on the internet. If you do that, this next step is going to work. If you don't, it will not. Now, part of the battle of Anthropic realizing, oh my God, we're in a little bit of deep doo-doo here, is Fable 5 is $60 round trip. They're like, uh-oh. So guess what they did? They're like, I tell you what, we got this super cool thing, Opus 4.8. Let's make a new thing called Opus 5. Okay, so Opus 4.8 was previously $30 round trip. They're like, let's make a thing, if you're working with us directly, that's Opus 5, and it's going to be almost as good or pretty damn close to Fable, but it's the same price as Opus 4.8. It's $30. So instead of 60 versus 18 and 8 and $1.25, it's 30. They're doing their best to put the Tiffany diamond on discount. Okay. I've tried these and I really like the way Opus talks and thinks, especially 4.8. 5 has been okay. It's a little bit verbose. It seems like he's a little long in the tooth. Fable has been incredible, but also long in the tooth and definitely not worth $60. Absolutely not worth $60 if you're paying retail. If you're paying in the discount here, like I pay $200 a month and he runs forever, okay. But in the real world, I would never pay the tokens for that. So Opus 5 is a good suggestion. Do not use Haiku and Sonnet. Those are like, I don't even know why they keep them around. It's like, those are the landscaper, and asking the landscaper to write your ad copy because you're trying to save a couple bucks, because they're okay, but they're just not like why you would be paying to be here. Okay. I simply paste. Don't even have to say anything anymore. Just paste and hit enter. And notice I'm in chat right now. You could be in cowork or code. Makes no difference. I do not think this will work in design. I haven't tried it, but it's pointless in design, because the reason I didn't like design was design is like chat associated with this whole other thing to do with like your design elements. And I don't know. You're going to have to try that, Lloyd. Maybe I'll try it, but like I've never bothered with it because it seems like it's this plus other junk on top of it. All right. Ta-da, done. Connection live. That's it. Now, if I've not put Ann to sleep yet, Ann, are you still here? Because Ann and I talked and she said that I tend to put her to sleep in a nice way. You have now connected this outside tool to everything to operate everything inside of your MinuteLaunch site. Thank you. Highest of fives. I'm glad. And let me know, keep me honest if I'm putting you to sleep. Now, let's talk, before I go back to my slides, what does this mean practically? Inside of MinuteLaunch is a new tool called AI usage. Here's the setup. When you use MinuteLaunch, you can use any keys that you want when you're in Plugin Manager for connecting outside services. When you scroll down, you see here the API Key Manager. Notice OpenRouter, Replicate, which by the way is probably going to go away. I don't use Replicate anymore. I switched to using a thing called Top View. But the point is, this is for video stuff. That'll come back as Top View. Non-project SERP, Firecrawl. The only one that's really super duper gotta have would be OpenRouter and maybe SERP. You can get all these other keys, by the way, for free. So you don't have to start paying right away. You can just get really reasonable uses for free. But OpenRouter, you can either use the credits from me or you can get your own key and go to town. And then my situation was you can refill this like asking for more quarters at the game room, kids, back in the day, using the change machine. But when you're actually, working with clients and customers or even team members or yourself, What I wanted to do was say, let's put guardrails in place on what you can use and how you can spend it, so you don't accidentally turn on Fable and ask one question and go through $50. Okay. So the way we did this is you can enforce the guardrails, and then you can choose like either allow every model, only select models, or accept 3, DeepSeek 4, Grok 4.5. Those are good, really high-end models to compete with Opus, whatever. And then you can also do a money guardrail. Like I usually go $18. So I do this. I say enforce guardrails, allow every model, but I put an $18 cap. Why? That prevents me from accidentally using, without being notified, the expensive stuff. And that means that I can still use all the way up to Kimi 3, you see. So guardrails in place, plus I also get to see usage by model, by source, by user. Which one of the people on the site is going crazy and why? All right. So if you have teams, that's helpful. But here's the real interesting thing. And Lloyd, I'll get to your question in half a second. The workspace and GitHub. I'm going to show you a slide next as to what this means. Here's what we're talking about. Imagine if you have one WordPress website. Good morning, Jack. If you have one WordPress website and you want to connect your desktop, GitHub is a backup, and then all of your tools, okay? This one site can use the workspace and the desktop and the other things I'm showing you to make that happen. But it can also connect multiple sites to one hub so that the very same tools can all work in concert of agreement across all of your sites or all of your client sites. It acts like a hub. It acts like a train station. Here's how. First of all, you can connect by using the Workspace GitHub tab to your GitHub site. You simply follow the instructions and you go to GitHub, and it's really simple. You click and create a personal access token. You paste it in. You then choose, do you want to connect to all of your repositories on GitHub, which I would say yes, so that you can use as many as you need selectively. And in this case, that's what I did. I just said, use my whole GitHub account. And I said, here's the name of the account. And if it's a branch, which you shouldn't have to branch, just use the main branch. That's the default. And then I can also bring in, if I need to, repositories that exist. And I can be selective if I want about which ones to connect to permanently, or just allow it to do the whole thing, which is switch to mirror mode. Mirror mode is what I use because I'm like, listen, my hub should be mirrored in GitHub and vice versa. So I have one site, which is MinuteLaunch, that's acting as a hub for everything I build from the desktop. Good morning, John. And everything that I build, good morning. And everything that I build in any of the sites. So I'm going to review this again. I want to ask some questions, make sure you're with me. I have GitHub as my like cloud backup of everything. I've got my desktop where I've got tools and I've got stuff that's only on my particular computer. Or remember, I've got my MacBook and my PC. I can have two of desktops. Then I've got other sites and other plugins and things I'm doing that I want to connect to. But I've also got tools. Like right now, I just connected Claude in the browser. Everybody is sharing the stuff through this hub. I'm going to pause to make sure I'm on the same page. Ask questions. I'm going to answer Lloyd's question. I think the answer to your question is, can you use this to connect to and orchestrate other agents and other platforms and other ecosystems? The answer is yes, as you'll see in a second. Because when an agent connects from my desktop, from another system, from the inside, it's going to leave a record of everything it does. And there's a dude in there who is the air traffic controller who's leaving a job board of what's going on, as you're going to see. And Lloyd's asking, where do we find in the plugin manager what kind of function tasks out of the box it can perform? You can ask it. We're going to do that. And Anne's got a question. So it's doing the commit and push of what exactly? anything you want it to do, it's able to do, but you still tell it to do it. So in other words, what I do is when I do meaningful work and it's done, I say, go ahead and save a copy of that, push it to GitHub for safekeeping. But instead of having to do that through Claude itself, I now do it through the hub and it makes a record of it. Okay, and you'll see how this works in a second. I'm easing into this so that I don't lose you guys. So here's how I connect GitHub once, and then I never have to do it. Once that's connected, the workspace keeps a record of every agent. And notice this is very tiny. I apologize. I can zoom in a little bit. When I zoom in, and of course, it knocks it out. But see these things here where it says source, GH sync hydrate, GH sync, GH it up. These are different agents connecting. And when they connect, it keeps a long history that's paginated of everything that was ever done by any agent. See where it says cursor, cursor, cursor. I guess Google H sync hydrate might be plugin manager or something. The point is, everything that's ever done is kept in the workspace. Now that's important for a couple other reasons as well. Number one, it's how we know what was done. Number two, all of the stuff that was ever done is saved. So when I go into this and I want to preview it or open it, I can actually see the interaction that happened with that agent in that turn. Okay. Let's pause. If I was using Claude in a browser and I did a bunch of stuff, Claude is the only one who knows or keeps track of what he did or how he did it and what was made and the files and the resources and notes. That's kind of a drag. Using the new MinuteLaunch Desktop and MinuteLaunch Workspace, everything he's done is saved inside of my WordPress site in a way that is not only indexable and retrievable by humans, and you can download it in the future, but it's also pushed up to GitHub and secured there. And it's available to every other agent, including that one, in the future to be referenced as something that happened. Because when everybody is playing in the same space and storing in the same space, this becomes communal knowledge. I'm going to pause. Are you guys with me on this concept? If you had 5 different LLMs and 5 different frontier models, they do not know what each one of them is doing. If you create 5 different groups of work product, none of that is shared. If you downloaded those 5 different work products to your desktop, it's still not going to help you in WordPress to do anything because it's on your desktop. And, oh, I'm sorry, you have a power outage and your desktop is no longer connected. With this system, all of your work is constantly being aggregated into the same media library, the same database, backed up to GitHub, and also referenced with regard to who did what, when, where, and why, with what I'm going to call an air traffic controller to make sure they don't bump into each other. What does that mean? Notice down here, there's a tool called MinuteLaunch Desktop. If I don't crash my browser out. MinuteLaunch Desktop is the air traffic controller. How does this work? We have 4 elements here. We have, just by reference, GitHub, which we know we've already connected. We've got the ability to connect to the folder on your desktop or multiple desktops so that your local files can be available and also as a source to download to. You simply connect, and you unfortunately can't see this the way I'm sharing it, but it allows me to connect to my desktop and connect to my GitHub folder and allow. And now you can see I am connected to every single freaking thing inside of my GitHub folder, right? It's a little bit freaked out because it's saying, which one do you want to pair it with? And so it's too much, but I would pair it with a subfolder. I don't have one here, but I will just for the sake of argument, I don't want to break anything. I'll connect to MinuteLaunch AI. Okay. The idea is I can now sync or send to or pull. I can go up and down, back and forth. File manager to my local desktop. Next, files that are stored on this site. This now gives me a tree that also exposes all of the files for everything that has been done by the other agents that is stored inside of WordPress. So essentially, everything from the assets I've created to the documents to the include files are all here. But this is not the same thing as your WordPress media library. This is not the same thing as your WordPress directory. No, this is very specifically designed, it should be designed for managing what the tools do. But notice, I can actually get to all of these things. So it's a file browser or like an SFTP that's on your computer. That's on your website. And then finally, the job board. The job board is the fascinating part because this is where, when we're using one site as the hub for multiple site interactions, any of your agents can, I guess it's true too if you're a single site, any of your agents can create jobs and track them so that other agents can collaborate with them and they don't bump into each other. Now, Anne was asking me this question today about using OpenClaw. All that OpenClaw is an asynchronous way for multiple agents to coordinate working on one project. Voila. So we've got the ability for a project to be created or a job to be created that's either queued, in progress, done, failed, remotely, and the agent anywhere can know about it and do stuff. Let's test this. Hey, Fernando, inside of the site you're connected to is a job board with MinuteLaunch Desktop. Can you connect to that and tell me, do you have any jobs in the job board right now that you can view? So any agent, anywhere, anytime can see what's in the job board. And the rules that are built in about the job board are that if multiple agents are working on stuff, just like with GitHub itself, there's like rules that prevent one agent from screwing over the other agent and doing stuff to delete their things or overwrite their things or replace their things. So just like OpenClaw, there's rules when you store stuff that allow them to understand, oh, there's 5 guys working on this. I'm going to help out, but I'm not going to dick over the guy who just finished something. I'm going to go from where he or she started. And by the way, it could be Daphne. It doesn't have to be a guy. Okay. So notice, yeah, one job sitting in the queue, nothing in progress. Give your agents a desk. It knows everything about it, the payload, what's involved. He can start working on it. He can get to go to town. And think about this, because Claude has scheduling and he has co-work, you can leverage Anthropic's tools to set up a bunch of agents that now can connect to your MinuteLaunch site, and all of their tools become your tools. Their voice command becomes the way to connect and find out, what do I need to do, Fernando? And he can talk to you. Okay. I'm going to say, just as a test, don't do any work. Just move the job forward in the job board to the next step in progress. Simple as that. Let's see if he does it. I want to pause. So if you guys are still following me, you understand what we've been able to achieve. And ironically and excitingly, since we started this whole thing, like I had no idea where this was going to go because so many things came into factor. So when you ask me, hey, where do I find out what's available? How do you do it? Guess what Spence has not done? Spence has documented things individually. Like if you go into, for example, most of these tools like MinuteLaunch Canvas, if you go into them, they do have documentation enough for a human to understand. Okay, what is this? What do I do? But they're really geared towards AI assistance. And so what I'm really saying is there's no point in you trying to figure out what everything does, even though, look, I see I've got help and docs. I do have documents inside of each thing for humans, and they're in a variety of formats because I've been trying it out as we go. But the ultimate thing is what I'm going to show you is just ask your guy what's inside of there. Anne's asking. Persistent memory across LLMs agents hardness is amazing. Okay, watch this. Ann's asking, where does MinuteLaunch Lab come in, and what is MinuteLaunch Lab? Great question. I'm going to answer it right after this. So he said, done, job moves forward. One thing noting, a claim job that gets no progress update will drop back into the queue on its own. So if you leave it sitting here, it's self-release rather than stay stuck. So in other words, it's got a thing in here that like prevents you from having a bunch of stale stuff laying around, is what he's saying. Let's go to the job board though, in desktop. And ta-da, you see he moved it forward. And I can also have him delete it. And when you do that, you've got an archive. There's nothing archived here, but all the old stuff or the finished stuff doesn't disappear. It's always available. Notice I put in, for people who wear glasses, you can go like super big or you can go super small. So again, Gen X power, I don't need it to read. I have distance correction, but like if you have bifocals, it's easier to read. Okay, now let's ask him Ann's question, and then Lloyd is like, WP agents can control and command other agents from, yes. Okay, so we go inside of here, we got MinuteLaunch Lab. What is MinuteLaunch Lab? MinuteLaunch Lab is Spence's version, customized, of all of the best tools that come from, Anthropic or whatever. There's so many in here, but I'm going to try to run you through. First of all, you know that he pops out. I don't have to pop him out, but imagine you popped him out on your desktop. Number two, I put in I'm old and I wear bifocals. So, you can zoom in selectively, worth mentioning. I put in a global search for, anything that matches up so that you can go through thousands of things and find it. I put in 4 levels of memory stuff. This is really a big deal. We've got rules, which are things they always have to obey. Profiles. Who's working on this? Like this is Ann versus Lloyd versus Claude versus Spence. Context. In this project, do things this way. Reference. These are things that you load on demand that are like, oh, by the way, remember we talked about the fact that we're doing that thing. So 4 levels of this that you can customize, and any of your agents can also write rules, and they make it better, faster, more sensible. So all of those things in the past where we'd have to use auto memory and skills and stuff, these are now inherent to the tools. Prompts. These are where you could create a library of prompts of how to do stuff so you don't have to say it a jillion times, right? Draft a plan, summarize this chat, and so forth. Canvas, I'm going to come back to. That's the powerhouse. Files. These are all the files that are associated with this workspace. So from media library or upload, I can associate those into this particular project or the whole workspace in general. And the reason these buttons are weird is because I had to scale that. That's what it normally looks like. Okay, releases. When I build stuff, especially plugins, I'm protected because I tell the guys, always make a release of every single change that you make. That means that if the shit hit the fan, I've always got a backup. It's, by the way, that he'll automatically download, or I can. It's automatically in a zip file, so it's impervious to being messed with like a PHP file. It's synced to GitHub, but everything I've made it is a release, and it's available inside of this public folder that it acts as a repository in and of itself. And then sharing. This is a big one. I'm working with team members, and I not only want to do things where we share the mail and all the rest, but I want to share all the chats with them, or selectively. So you can pick a team member here. Nobody else works on this site, so it's just me. But if I chose a team member, and there is nobody else to choose because I'm the only guy on the site. You would choose the person, and then you would choose, let everybody open and edit this chat or all chats. And then you could say the scope, right? The whole chat read and write, or select messages. So this gives you control over sharing. Filebird, right? Filebird. Which, by the way, I am not using it currently, but there is definitely a need for that. I'm going to show you what Filebird is again. So John was asking something I'm going to come back to about when you're doing media management, how to have things easier to organize. And that is useful. I think I'm going to probably build that into the system instead of using Filebird. But for right now, Filebird free is good. The metaphor of projects. So we have the ability to create unlimited projects, create new chats, share the projects, edit the name of the projects, delete the projects. You can create a new project here as well and just selectively use it. This is exactly like Anthropic. Rename the one we're in. Super easy to manage. Make a new chat or rename the chat, move the chat, switch to a different chat, basic stuff. Okay. You have at the bottom here your budget. So you know how many quarters you got left in your pocket. You can go back and add more quarters by clicking the button. You can enable or disable web search, background processing. That's the open claw. Instead of waiting around for him to finish his turn, you could give him a bunch of instructions and he can just ping the system and it'll be ready when you're there. However, this also has a new feature because the Chrome browser will stop. It'll time out in 30 seconds. That if he's working on something complex and you're not in background mode, it will put a thing in the bottom of the screen that says, you know, by the way, I did something while the browser was away. Just click the button to see what I did. And then autonomous, this is your HAL 9000. Turn him off before he kills us or locks us out. But Fernando's pretty nice. Here's where you can choose which model. Again, if I go outside the scope of my budget, like if I choose a $40, $50, $60 model and I have an $18 budget, it'll give me a notice that says, sorry, you're out of your constraints. And so what I do here is I choose the right tool for the right job, right? I'm in DeepSeek 3.2. I might switch over to using Kimi and just type it in, or I search for it, Kimi 3. Okay. And if it matches up, great, but I just can see them right in front of me. Notice, by the way, this is interesting. Because of the budget constraints of 18, it looks like it stopped me from putting in Kimi 3. Or I just, hold on. No. Watch this. Something about that constraint actually caused it to not be available, which is good. It's working, but I wonder if because I saved it badly. Oh, because look, I went to $17.99. Somehow I changed that. I'm going to change this to $18. That's funny. I didn't do that on purpose. It must have just either done it or I accidentally had it happen. If I go back to MinuteLaunch chat, now I will be able to find Kimi. I couldn't find it because it's like, sorry, man, that's $18. And I was literally a penny below that. Kimi 3. There it is. Okay. So now I'm in Kimi 3. Now I will interact with this and I can ask him to do the same stuff. Okay. And I use my custom mic button, which I love. Hey, Fernando, it's Spence. I'm doing the live show. You're connected to the site and you have access to the desktop manager. Do you have MinuteLaunch Desktop? Do you have any jobs that are inside of the job manager of that? And I can hit once and edit, twice to send. I should get a very similar response, but I want you to understand something. The benefit of using Claude or one of the frontier models is they've spent $1 kajillion making them super, super duper, duper smart. And they're also using all of their tools to retain his memory and give him progress and manage the tokens. So it's an interesting difference. Sometimes when you're using OpenRouter in this, I'm sending this to China, to quote somebody. And my expectations of it understanding things are, it has to go to China and back. It might take a second. I will usually get a great output, but remember, I'm doing this for $18 and it's going overseas. Like it's the Temu answer versus if I ask the other guy, he's kind of like, yeah, man. So here's why this is valuable. I can do both. I don't have to commit to one or the other. I can do both. And even though he's in background mode and he's going on and about, it's listening for an answer, but sometimes it might take a second or two because Kimi right now is really popular. And I think they've got like an overabundance of interest. So if I switch from Kimi to auto, I will get a much faster answer. Okay. Hey, it's Spence again. I'm doing the live show. You're connected to the MinuteLaunch Desktop Manager. Can you tell me if you have any jobs in the Job Manager? So just understand, if you use a popular model and it's through OpenRouter, sometimes there will be a difference of time for the answer to come through. Nevertheless, it will tell you Seinfeld jokes and tell you how long you've been waiting. And when it does come back, it will tell you. And the good news is it's not going to cost you a fortune. But back to other agents controlling. Okay. If I go here, we, by the way, have other tools in this. We have what's called a task manager or task list and a chat history. So while he's working on that, if I open up the chat history, every single thing that I ever did in MinuteLaunch Lab is available for every agent to know about. Hugely important. Your whole business work history. I have a task list that can be used by any agent to manage stuff that needs to be done. And most importantly, I have, even though I got the other chat open, I've got the code canvas. The code canvas is remarkable because the code canvas is where I can have interaction in live view, and I've improved this enormously. I can create any number of entries that are numeric, and they have a share link that I can share externally. When I go into preview mode and I use this, this is where I've got this amazing capability, and I can compact the list to create content in line that I can then publish, save, share, but I can also share it directly with other agents by clicking the share button. And you can see here, I can promote it and share. I can give this link to another agent so it knows exactly a document that I'm working on in the MinuteLaunch Lab with other agents. And when I do that, it can automatically start working on it. But he's smart enough to also know without me telling him the number, right? So let's close the canvas. And by the way, notice that I feel like I'm a little stuck here. I'm going to turn off background, and I'm just going to refresh the page for a second and see what happened. That was an example when I was in background mode, where background mode is really attractive, but sometimes the browser fails me. So I usually work without it in background mode. And when I do, I found out that, holy shit, this thing has been waiting for me the whole time. It was here from 10:57. It's been here 2 minutes because the Chrome browser didn't refresh. Okay. So see, he gave me the same answer. The job's on the board. It just changed state since the last time we looked, right? He's given me the same answer. And now let's do something together. Let's go over here to Claude and go, hey, Fernando, I want to demonstrate for Lloyd, who asked the question, can you actually work with the MinuteLaunch Lab? So I want you to go into the MinuteLaunch Lab and do two things. I want you to create an entry, make a new chat in any project that says, hey, this is Fernando doing this remotely. And number two is create something inside of the code canvas of the MinuteLaunch Lab that's a demonstration of how you can create internal documents for me and you and the team to use that don't get published publicly. So he's able to do that. And by the way, third is demonstrate that you can see what the other MinuteLaunch Lab agent just talked about. So he is, I'm 100% sure, he's totally aware and capable of doing all three things. He can see the lab, see what the other agent's doing, see what the other agent has done, use the tools in the lab, make new stuff, create it, save it, give me a link to it where I could click to it. So I could be working in Claude Desktop, Claude Browser, and connect 100% to all the tools, which means you technically do not ever need to use the lab guy, but the lab guy is an alternative price, and he's inside. He's living in there, and he gives just as good of an answer. I mean, if you look at his answers, this blowing up thing, his answers are exactly the same. They're just as good as the expensive guy. But since I have the expensive guy and I have this, why not have them all get along? Okay. And by the way, this applies to all of the tools. I can have these guys work on task list items, production, page building, header, footer. I can have them create images in the image library. I can have them produce, hopefully, research using any of the tools, including Prospect and so forth. Anne, if you're still with me. Okay, so Anne is asking, if you're in a project, can you reference have available stuff in other projects? Yes. The reason that this is important is all of the projects, and when you're saying project, you mean inside of Claude. All of the projects are relevant to how Claude works. So Claude has been changed for many months now that you can reach into any project and it can know about it. The driver here of Claude can reach into anything here and connect and use it inside of MinuteLaunch. So if hypothetically you add stuff inside of another project, this guy connected to MinuteLaunch can connect there, and that hub of all the stuff you're doing can now be coordinated with that client or any client. Because one of the things I want to show you about is if we go back over to MinuteLaunch Desktop, I can connect this. Right now it's connected to itself. I can connect this to 100 other of my sites just by clicking add site, and I go, what's the name of the site? Let's add one. Let's do MinuteLaunch Persona, right? ML Persona. Okay. And then what I need to do is I need to get the collect connection bundle. So I'd go to InstaWP. Yeah, any other project in Lab for sure, but also in Claude. So it works anywhere that an agent can see, it can reach across and share. So if I go to MinuteLaunch Persona, which I'm working on some video stuff that I've been promising to Claude, by the way, boy, oh boy, this has been a wonderful adventure, but a death march of trying to get this thing working. I'm going to go into the plugin manager, update all plugins. We need to just get the key. So notice here what it's saying is key or paste the whole connect bundle. Okay, so all I do is just reverse gears. I go connect your agent, and I could get the key by just, grabbing one of these keys, or I could just do this, generate, and see where it says key. I'll just give the key, or I can do the whole bundle. Either way, paste it in. And then the site URL, I'm just going to be lazy and do this. And I'll call this ML Persona. I could also call it the client name, like this is Megan. Okay. And it's not happy of the little bracket at the end, I think. Okay. Added it in. Guess what I got now? I got MinuteLaunch, and if I refresh, I should. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here in a second. Let me double check that I connected properly, because for some reason I feel like I did a bad job of connecting. I'm going to try, just for shits and giggles, I'll try the whole connection bundle. Paste the whole connection bundle. I'll call this ML Persona. It's already here. I could see it's here. Oh, I know what the problem is. I got it connected to, I'm going to remove it. I added something at the bottom that it was broken. Sorry. I added a little extra thing. So let me just try to paste again. Connect the bundle. I'm going to take just the main site. It's not super fiddly. It's pretty easy, but it still requires you to copy paste properly. ML Persona, and then add the site. Okay, and I don't know if I have to refresh it or not. This is, by the way, I'm never afraid to do things live in public, because I know this works. I've used it, but something is acting funny with the connection, and I'm not 100% sure why. So I will find out, but it is interesting to me that when I go to connect, it's saying something more in desktop. So if I go up here to dashboard, I could see that it's connected, but the status is red. Let's click the connect button. Maybe it's needing me to do that. And maybe it's just something wrong that I don't know about. Let's see. For whatever reason, that one is not connecting, and I do not know why. So I'm just going to say, I'll work on this. I think it's just me. I'm connecting or doing something wrong, but you can kind of see the idea that oh, now it showed up. Okay. So now it's here. If you were wanting to do, maybe it just took a second, I guess. It says site unreachable. I have a feeling something is blocking me, but if you wanted to manage multiple clients, this is what it'll look like. Aside from the connectivity, you've got your primary hub, and you can have any additional client sites. And each one of those, when it's properly connected, will give you access, and it can use the job board, everything else. So if I'm in MinuteLaunch persona mode, I have the ability of using the job board that manages MinuteLaunch persona. If I'm in MinuteLaunch, I use the job board for MinuteLaunch. Pretty simple. The connectivity issue I'll just get to next. By the way, while we're here, just not to get off track, because I want to show you what Claude did. When I'm in MinuteLaunch persona, I'm loving this, but it's just so complex to get video correct. And so I've been holding off on this, but I'm getting results. I was just doing some new clips and the actors. So the reason that it's so complex is because the level of capability to have multiple people's, places, things, multi-person scenes, the actors, it's a lot of shit going on. And I want to make it perfect. So like I've got Marcus the pizza guy and Dana the lakefront driver and Carly the show host and Steve Grant, and it's going to be great. It'll be worth it. Filebird I'll show you too. Couple things. I can't wait either. I promise this is highest on my priority list. I'm not sure, you were probably referring to something I said while I was talking a moment ago. MinuteLaunch Lab is the workspace instead of okay. MinuteLaunch Lab is the car. It's the inside of your setup. It is the laboratory, the car where any agents can do work. It is like Claude Desktop or Claude Code or Claude Design. It is like Perplexity. It is the physical workspace and tool, but it needs a driver. The driver is here. We choose which driver instead of having it forced down our throat by Anthropic saying it's one of our drivers. Okay. Hopefully that answers that question. What about Filebird? So Filebird is a plugin that I still have available that I use occasionally. And here's where that comes into play. John and both Johns asked about this. If I go into MinuteLaunch Kit, here, I think I have it listed in there, or you can get the free version. It doesn't matter. Filebird. I think I just left the free version. So let's just go to let's go to the good old fashioned world of add a plugin. And this is why I'm probably just going to put this capability in place. Filebird. There was a plugin that was really pretty awesome for adding media update stuff. And the free one is, oh, I already do have it installed, interestingly. I just don't think I had it on. So I updated it. And here, I'll just enable it or activate it. If I remember how to do that in WordPress. Plugins being a thing of the past. Notice I have like only my own plugins, and these are all virtual. So if I go here to Filebird, there it is, Filebird Lite. This is what it does, and it's a great feature. I do like this plugin, but I don't think I need the heaviness of a plugin when everything else is this big and lightweight. If you go into the media library, this is where it makes a difference. You can organize stuff in a new way. So for example, obviously the regular media library lets you do lists or grids and so forth, but Filebird lets you add a new layer onto it where you can have folders and you can organize things into folders, which means that if I wanted to put all the Howard Inc. in or the Steve Grant videos, I can make a folder, you know, called let's call it plumbers. Okay. And then I was doing a bunch of plumbing images this morning. I could just take all of these and I just associate them into plumbers by literally dragging them into the plumbers folder, which is super awesome because now I've got a folder that just has plumbers in it, right? Super great. I don't think I need to reinvent the wheel here, but I do think that I can essentially recreate the capability of Firebird inside of one of our systems, and it's probably going to happen. But in the meantime, really awesome to have as a tool if you have a lot of media. Okay, back to our test. All three landed of what I asked the remote Claude to do. There's a new chat in the lab. Let's look at it. By the way, as a rule, you've done a good job because you gave me those links. Thank you. See where he gave me these things? I gave Claude a rule. I'm not going to tell him that. I said, give me links to stuff. So look, I don't have to figure it out. He just links me directly to what he did. And here's what he did. So he basically, let's see what he actually said. He said, new chat number 8365, remote agent demo for Lloyd, published under publish social articles project. Okay, so switch here, publish social article. Here's the chat. Here's what he published, right? And I'm going to refresh the page. And I'm going to also ask him, code canvas entry 17, internal working. Let's open the code canvas and see if he's got that there. Now the code canvas can't pop out on its own for some reason, but I can go to number 17 and I go into preview mode and here is what he made for me. So the difference between this, by the way, and a public page or post, this isn't public. This is internal. This is only for me and the agents or me and other team members. But you see, I could publish this as a page instantly. I just click publish and I can turn it into a poster page. But when I want to do stuff that's just between me and Irene, I don't want that. I want us to have a conversation. And this is also stuff that could be instantly mailed with MinuteLaunch Mail or whatever. Okay. And then finally, what about knowing what the other agent did? And this is good. The on-site assistant's most recent session shows it was asked the same question about the job board. It answered, give your agents a desk, which is now in progress. So it watched me take that job and report it back to you without anyone telling it happened. Before that, blah, blah, blah. Now let's say make a task. Let's do two things. Let's do refresh and say, let's give him something else to do. I want you to do two other things. First of all, make a task list entry inside of the MinuteLaunch lab that said, this is Fernando making a task list entry for Spence to read. Number two, use the MinuteLaunch image editor, create an image that shows a cat riding on top of a turtle and make it photorealistic 16 by 9. And then give me a link to it in the media library. Okay, so give him two tasks to do. One is to make a task list item so he can manage, like, these are things we need to do. And number two is use one of the tools remotely to make a media file that is something either ridiculous or it could be based upon real work. Okay, so while he's working on that, let's go back to our slides. So you've got Claude in the browser, which I've been using, Claude on the desktop, Claude Code, Claude on the phone, Cursor, Goose, Fernando, Code. What was the other one? I'm losing my mind. Claude, you just gave it to me. I got to look it up. I'm losing my mind today. What was the other one? OpenCode. I didn't list it here. You got Fernando, who's living inside, or whatever comes next, like Tesla Model X, or maybe your headset or your Meta glasses, or God forbid. Okay. The whole suite. You got MinuteLaunch Lab. You've got MinuteLaunch Coach and the code code canvas, you've got the canvas block. Images and media, e-commerce, you've got MinuteLaunch Stripe Gateway, you've got all of the Fluent CRM, the tools, and the MinuteLaunch Mail, and all the other stuff. The knowledge, everything in the site is available to any agent, which is remarkable for so many reasons. You can hand out as much rope as you want. You can scope using that tool, that little checkbox. Like, I only want to share media, or I only want to share knowledge, or I only want to share commerce, or give it all. You can have the keys expire automatically or be assigned to any particular job or project. You can give out a key for the day, like a pass to the YMCA, or you can give it out permanently. And you can revoke any key from the dashboard. So when we go over here into MinuteLaunch Plugin Manager to our connector agents, those keys can be revoked. See this? Revoke, 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 revoke. I can get rid of any key at any time. And it also says expires and date last used and who is it gone to and what scopes it has. One shared desk between your laptop. Now, this is remarkable because, like I said, I have a ton of stuff that was on my PC laptop. I went to my kid's camp. I needed to bring something that could work, or I had the power outage. What a drag. I couldn't get to any of that stuff. That's a problem of the past because now it can all be stored in the same site in the cloud, backed up to GitHub, accessible to any of my agents. And when new stuff is created, like these videos and so forth, I have access to it everywhere all the time. So the same files, every version with signed links. In other words, like if I give out a link, it doesn't expose the access to the thing. It's like you get a copy, but you can only use this copy. And then it goes straight to live. So if you create a plugin, you can have it go right to live. Now, where have I been using that? This is MinuteLaunch Persona. I have an agent in Claude who's developing MinuteLaunch Persona. When he makes a change, he immediately goes live and updates it, but then saves the copy inside of my repository, inside of my site. So I'm able to have a constant communication for development. But in this case, I'm using Cursor and Claude Desktop. Cursor and Claude. So watch this. If I go into projects, I have a bunch of them here, but let's go to, I'll just show you the chat itself, chats. If I go here, I have these chats that are me connecting to all the various sites. If I search for Persona, you can see here's like the chats that I've had were him developing the plugin, but from the browser. Okay. Our dude has made a punch list entry in the MinuteLaunch lab. Let's look at the task list and see what he did. In this case, he didn't send me right to the task list, but that's okay. And here it is. If I zoom in for you, which this screen, I don't think I have the zoom feature, so I have to do the old-fashioned way. Here's what he did. Remote agent demo, punch list entry. This is Fernando making a task list for Spence. Okay. Number 2, image, cat riding a tortoise. Let's look at the image first. Photorealistic, folks. And then let's look at it in the media library. Tabby cat balances on a tortoise. Now, why is this a big deal? Think about it. You're in the car driving or talking. Fernando is in your site. That's one way to get to him. But you also have Claude. You're at the gym like me, and you're like, listen, I got a great idea. I want to talk to my team about building this thing. So make a plugin, and here's the strategy, and and do the research based on all the stuff that you've seen in my Fathom calls. And make a bunch of media object library things that, like, all of the tools are available anywhere all the time, and all the results are in one spot. So watch this. If I go back here, and I'm going to go back to Fernando in MinuteLaunch Lab. And let's make, first of all, let's zoom me out to like a more realistic level. And let's do this. Let's make a new project. cat talk. Okay. And I'm going to make a new chat in cat talk. And I'm going to say, hey, Fernando, can you search my media library for any images of tabby cats? And I want you to write an article that says there's nothing better in the world than when cats ride on turtles and why both of them make amazing pets. And give me a draft of that in the code canvas that is in the style of WP Launchify. So use my color scheme and brand, but it's something that I'm probably going to share just with the team. So make it really easy to read and efficient. And include also an embedded image of anything you found recently in my media library that has cats and turtles in it. Okay. So essentially, all of the stuff that was made is in the one spot. The external tool can use it. My desktop guy can use it. The guy in the lab can use it. The coach can use it. I can use it when I'm sending social media or mail, because remember, I got MinuteLaunch Social. If I wanted to do a post or have Fernando do a post, and by the way, this is so small, I just go over here and I go add media and I go tabby cat and I go, you know what's amazing? When cats ride on turtles, there's nothing better in the world. Okay. I have Fernando optimize this for my social networks. I'm not going to send it out to YouTube, so I probably should remove YouTube from that. And when he does, I'll have a social media post that can go out to any or all of my networks instantly with one publish, or I can schedule it for the future. And it will then take the content. The point being, everything is in one spot. Everything is here where it can be used by you as the human, your client, or you with your desktop. Now, Anne, imagine you're managing multiple nutritionists. You can have your tool in Claude Desktop, which you probably like to use, or Claude Browser, managing all of their client sites remotely by just simply connecting them in this method, right? And you can use the same tools, which are, the social tools here of MinuteLaunch Social and so forth, right? Let's see if I want to see where I gave him the direction. I have too many tabs open, of course. I don't remember which window I had opened, so I'm going to go back to him. Sorry about that. Let's go to lab chat. And let's see if he did anything. So here's where he reports back to me. And this is the part I love. I've set up the code canvas inside of lab chat, so it's got a link. So he says, perfect, I created your article about cats. Here's the perfect image that he found. And let's click on the canvas and open it up. He opens it in a new tab. And now I'm good to go with an internal article about tabby cats, the charm of turtles. And I can copy this and use it as a source for another conversation. I can go back to chat. I can publish it. I can share it. I can do anything I want to do with this. And it exists live in my site. If I go in my canvas here, it's the last item, number 18. Magic ensues, right? Okay. We already talked about the Git remote. So by having one Git repository, all of my stuff can be posted to GitHub and saved and pushed, which means I'm never going to be screwed and left out. Even if I'm not using my computers, I can get to the stuff because I can always get to GitHub and then connect another agent there. The control tower is the job board, the file sync, the site roster, and the cost reporting I didn't talk about, but that's relevant too. When you're using the MinuteLaunch Desktop, I wanted to be able to know, like, how much of my money did I spend on each client? Which is a minor thing, but let's say, for example, I'm doing a bunch of jobs and it costs tokens. This costs nothing. I want to keep track so I can bill the client. And by the way, I can move this manually too, right? I can just click and move this forward manually just as easily. And I can just easily add new jobs. We talked about the value proposition. You have flat rate subsidized Claude. That $200 goes forever, forever. In Cursor, It doesn't go forever. That's why I'm not going to be using Cursor anymore, because Cursor is a great tool, but using Cursor and getting Fable or Opus 5 was costing me like basically full retail. And they gave me a little teeny tiny sampler. And after that, I was on retail and it would just run out. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I just might as well use my tool connected directly to Claude, where it's infinitely subsidized. And also you can choose, by the way, to use free models where free models will do. Like, you do not need to use anything other than a free model for basic tasks, especially like doing research on your site. Like, look up where I ever said this on a page. Like, that does not require anything other than a free model. We talked about the leash, the control over costs. So model allow list, price cap, monthly budgets. You got one ledger that keeps track of everything you've done, how much it costs, who charged what on the company credit card. You know, the connector is free. The plugin manager is free. Now, it's not going to do everything for free, but it does quite a lot. Let's do a test together. I'm going to pick a site. I don't think I've done anything on this site. So let's test this on a free site that I haven't done anything with. The only difference being, I want to do it on a site that has no premium connection, because I don't even know the answer to this one's a problem. Because let's just make a new site and we're not going to call it anything. It's just going to be free. I want to test, when I install the plugin manager, what if any capabilities get installed with Workspace. I'm 100% sure you can't do all of the other stuff because you need MinuteLaunch Desktop and the other premium plugins. But I think you can do a remarkable amount of the connect to your agent stuff. And I'm going to test this right now. And if it doesn't work, that's okay too, because it's free. Like, come on. But if it does do it, it's pretty awesome, because for a free thing, there'd be no excuses for anybody. And I don't care, because it's just some software. I'm just generating, because I know I learned my lesson. InstaWP, I have an account. I create this. If I created this on ZipWP, nothing connects. They block everything because, duh, the sites expire in 20 minutes. Okay, so let's go in here. If I want to summarize, transcribe today's show so I can create content for 1 minute, couple ways. First of all of my stuff in YouTube has a transcript. Number two, every show on Friday goes into spencerforeman.com and has a transcript. So go to the link that says recent content. I haven't done today's shows, obviously. You go to WP Launchify or Spencer Foreman, latest content. Here's last, I don't know, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, because last week I had the power outage. And if you go down to the bottom, it's set up as I'm talking. It's set up, first of all, YouTube has the full transcript, but that's actually, I'm putting my foot in my mouth because I didn't do it on that week. Most of the time there's a transcript right there in the page, or at least I thought there was. But either way, I'll show you how to get it. Oh, I guess I don't do let's just go right to the transcript in YouTube. So just to show Lloyd where you go, just go to YouTube, watch on YouTube, and then the transcript's fully here. So if you go and you pause it and you click the three dots, that'd be the chat. You click these three dots, see where it says download, you can get or save the video. But where you get the transcript is you go to closed captions, and then you scroll down. Show transcript. It's in the description. And then it pops up on the right side. And you could just copy this and download it. And it has everything that was said. That would be an easy way to go. Okay. I don't know why the transcript wasn't in the blog post. I thought that was. But either way, easy to get to. Okay. So now I've got a brand new site. Let's just see what happens, and then we'll wrap up. You guys have been very patient, but I think today, hopefully I stayed mostly on track. So much going on. It's really, especially with last week's interruption, hard to stay within the hour, but I appreciate you for hanging around. MinuteLaunch plugin manager. Now, you don't normally do this. You get this plugin. I should just do this fairly. Just go to MinuteLaunch and just click the button. Okay, try now for free. It's infinitely easier. It'll download the plugin. I should have just done that, to be fair. Okay, then you upload that to this new site, install, and for free, it will connect Fernando, but it won't have all the premium stuff because it's going to sell you an option to get that. Okay, but it's still pretty remarkable because, for example, the free Fernando with the free router is still available. Hey, Fernando, it's Spence. Are you there? What time and date is it? So he's pretty zippy, actually. Hey, do you know anything about how to install MinuteLaunch Mail? Now, Ann asked me this yesterday. Some of the latest stuff he may not be good at in the free thing. He's geared up to knowing about all the legacy stuff and all the WordPress stuff. So if he gets hung up, don't worry about that on new stuff. Use the paid guy. But I will be upgrading the free guy to have the context. Where he really excels, if I go in a new chat, would be, can you tell me how to install the WooCommerce plugin? Oh, so like notice he answered, but he's like, I don't see MinuteLaunch Mail, or, because this is just an issue. But if I go about WooCommerce, he's geared up. He's indexed all 85,000 plugins in WordPress. And I think he's pretty good. He's also referencing some stuff I don't have anymore. So I have to update him a little on my own things. But the point is not that. The point is he's here and he has some remarkable tools. He has skills and design tools and stuff. He's just like, he's a guy at the beach with a hot dog vending stand. He's for free. But the important part is look at Connect Your Agent. Let's see if this works. I'll be damned. I didn't know that it was going to work, but it's working. So I've given out even greater value. Let's go to a new Claude and see if it works. I'm not going to say anything, actually. I'm just going to paste it. Cold turkey, free plugin, your own installation of WordPress. Claude free, maybe. I don't know. I've never tried Claude free. I've only used the premium because the Claude free seems pointless, but let's see. If I don't say anything and it's the free one, I don't know if there's some like trapdoors inside of this. I've never tried it because he may be looking for things that don't exist yet. Also notice the canvas block skill. What I would probably do is I would probably at least install the canvas block, which has an incredible capability for free of connecting the free Fluent CRM. So for example, here for free, I would just add the Fluent CRM plugin. I have not paid for anything yet. And just these three things could do some crazy shit. I'm going to show you what I mean. Watch this. Okay. It's working. Now, watch this. I'm going to say, listen, just for shits and giggles, I've got the MinuteLaunch canvas block, and I want you to create a new page that's a home page that connects to the Fluent CRM. If you need to, create a new list called main list. And what I wanted to do is essentially have a form that says, hi, give me your email, and I'll add you to my list. And make it something attractive in the MinuteLaunch color scheme that you know of from your skills. Now, one of the things I would do, I would also install the free Cadence theme, because I cannot imagine why we're still at 2025 as a theme. It is inherently broken and doesn't do anything right. So I'm just going to put in the free Cadence. Okay, so let's just do that prompt. Spence has too many screens open. Okay, keyworks. And I'm going to take what I just said. Okay, I've installed Cadence and the free Fluent CRM on the site. Can you make a new page? Make it the homepage of the site if you want. A full page with the MinuteLaunch style that's a form that takes somebody's email and says, hey, we're going to add you to our list. And I want you to demonstrate that you can do that with the free tools in this site. It's Cadence. Okay. Why am I showing you this stupid test? First of all, to demonstrate with just 3 clicks and a couple free plugins, you can do the craziest shit that you couldn't imagine. And you're connecting through your really powerful Claude tools to a site which you now own and control with a free plugin. Spence is okay with that because you're not going to be bugging me for this. When you actually do that and when it actually connects, I think remarkable stuff is going to happen. If I can go to the right site and Darling Mamba, I'm going to put this on the end so I don't get lost. Let's see what he creates. And by the way, Lloyd, in answer to your other question, you can also have Fernando to just, if he's connected and you've got the tools in there that I gave you, including the ones that let him read across sites, which is Firebase. If you go to Plugin Manager and you install the free Firebase key, Firecrawl, sorry, he can just read the YouTube and get the transcript. That's another way of doing it too. I might actually build, by the way, a YouTube crawler just for transcripts because I use the transcripts for everything anyway. All right, let's see what he does. So he's essentially just checking his endpoints. The Fluent CRM has the ability to create a main list, make a main list in Fluent CRM if you need, and be sure to follow the ML Canvas block REST API. So I'm just reminding him, add it to a list and don't go inventing stuff. Just stick with the tools that we got. Now, do I work like this? Yeah. Normally what I do, just so you understand my workflow, is if I'm working in Cursor or I'm working in the site itself, that's one thing. But when I'm using Claude, and I use them for everything because of the subsidies, I create a project like I just showed you. And the projects are what keep me organized. And then for the project, I connect like this, and I make him part of my workflow. And as you're seeing, he can also create stuff very powerfully using Opus or Fable. But he can also work with the other tools that I'm showing you for free or otherwise. And even without paying for anything from me, he could do remarkable amounts of stuff. And if you wanted to take design skills, Anthropic, Lloyd, has design skills where he can reference design skills without me having to use that special thing. If you go over here, see he's got skills, okay? I've already added the skills from him. Brand, Canvas, MCP Builder, Skill. I can go browse more skills, including Canvas design. Okay, I've already got it installed. That's why I was confused. Why would I bother using another tool? I could just do it here. Okay, he's done. Let's see what he's done. He set the page as a front page. Hopefully he's followed what we've done. MinuteLaunch, join the list. Hopefully he's connected it to Fluent CRM. Let's just give it a try and see. One of the things I have not done is I've not checked permalinks. So I'm going to just check permalinks. I didn't ask him about it, but just to make sure that I do, because that's always something worth going for. He said it. The dude, I love the guy. He's way ahead of me. Okay, so let's try it. So we'll do Lloyd@testing.com. Add me to the list. And by the way, look, it's got everything here. Something went wrong. Please try again. Let's see if it's something he can figure out, but I'm going to also cheat and look and see if there's a console error. There's always a console error. And all you do is right click and then he can figure it out, but I just give him a little help. Said error. Okay. Usually this is something super simple because when I'm using like InstaWP, he's got like a colon out of place and it triggers InstaWP to say no thank you. But I would bet he'll get it on the second try. But in the meantime, all I'm saying, we're back to our roots. We've now got Fluent CRM set up. We've got everything going for a gorgeous outcome in 3 clicks for a client site that connects. We can manage it whichever way we want. Okay. And okay, so it's something to do with the cache, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? Who cares? Let's refresh the page. Let's try it again. And we're going to try Ann at testing.com. Let's see if he's giving advice. Susie at testing.com. I'm going to give it to him and just ask him to test. Still an issue. And again, I'm not upset in this case because this is a remarkable capability anyway. The server's giving a 404. Server is giving a 404. Let's see if we can figure it out. If you guys are still here and you have other questions, let me know because I'm going to wrap up on this part. So you could go self-hosted, like I'm showing you, just put the plugin in for free or not. You can go $97 where you get the full premium bundle and self-host. $197 fully hosted, everything included. Concierge, that's where my primary clients are now starting at, and they go up from there. They're like, Spence, you run everything. I don't need to know about it. Just do the stuff for us, because that's where the world is moving to. Like, you guys have been with me for weeks and months or longer. Your clients don't want to know this. Just say it's $500 and I can do stuff for you that's like tens of thousands of dollars of value for creating your newsletter, your CRM, your intake, your whatever, right? Just the things I'm showing you now with the free thing are enough. But once you have the premium plugins in place, it's crazy. Okay. He forgot to add the hidden form field. So let's see if it's working now. This bug came out of the skill file, the fluency. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to say, thank you for letting me know that my skill document needs to be updated to remove that. Can you please give me a handoff document to give to my agent who will update that plugin to remove the thing that he caused you problems with? So basically, my agent left an old thing in place that gave bad instructions. Pretty remarkable. By the way, worth mentioning, because Anne has talked about this and John, in a new iteration of this, what's going to happen with Connect Your Agent or the job board, you're going to be able to connect directly to Fernando, which is to say in desktop, as an option, you'll be able to turn on directly talk to Fernando. And that way, Fernando can tap in and help out on any of these situations like we're having now. And Fernando can be notified, hey, I was just using the Canvas block and it gave me some bad instructions, but it's in the main plugin. Fix it. Awesome. Why shouldn't Fernando be told by your Daphne to go fix what's wrong with the plugins without you having to get in the middle, right? Okay, let's see if this works. And I'll end on a high five. Vince at testing.com. Ta-da! Now, let's look on the back end because there's two things that happen. Number one, the default setting of Canvas block has an option if I wanted to email me as the owner. If I had put help at WP Launchify in, I would, if I'm on a host that has email connected, get an email that says somebody just submitted a form. But let's go to Fluent CRM contacts. Got to get through their setup. Let's go skip. And if we go to contacts, ta-da! Here we go. We got a list he created called MinuteLaunch Updates. We've got homepage sign up. He created tags. He was smart enough to do that. And the person's in my CRM. So let me just pause for a second and wrap this up on a high note. Okay. For free in your own WordPress hosting, even InstaWP, you now have the capability of connecting any tool, anywhere, anytime to make incredible onboarding, intake, CRM stuff. Magical, crazy shit is going on for free. If you pay $97 or $197, all the other tools, other things become available. But as a public service for WordPress, I feel like I have warmth in my heart that I have done the community good, because this is free for anybody. but I'm not on the repository because Matt Mullenweg and his henchmen kicked me out of there 3 years ago, and I don't care to go back. I don't need to do that because I can reach anybody who cares directly, get the free plugin, do WordPress the new way, and all these other drama things go away. Number 2, use the tools you want in the way that you want, connect them in, out, use the open source drivers you want with or without the other ones. And all of this means that since you can own your box with your data and your history and everything that ever has been done, and it's backed up to GitHub, when they close the doors, slammed shut, yes, I will show Lloyd this too. When they close the doors, slam shut on the people that get locked into the cages without an open source backup, you will be laughing all the way to the bank. When the open source models become free, you'll be laughing all the way to the bank. You could create skills, as I mentioned, this way, but I'll review for you. If you go into the lab, and the skills are also global, but if you go into the lab right here under memory, because that's what they're calling it now, there's 4 types of skills: rules, profile, context, reference. Okay. For things that were like design skills, those would probably be rules. But if you want them specific to a particular project, they could be context. You also have prompts. Prompts are what sort of are short ways of saying something that you want to do over and over again. So you could also put a skill in there. So you can use it in a variety of places. And then depending on how you use it, you can ask it to use that skill, use that prompt, and so forth. So it's very, very convenient. Hopefully that makes sense. This is also available inside of individual things, like if you set up how MinuteLaunch Coach works or whatever. But what I'm gunning for here is that Coach is going to be comparable to when you use Claude vocally. Coach is, because Lab is so powerful now, Coach is going to be deprecated into a dude that's going to probably soon have his voice and his talking face. And it's going to be like, hey, it's Fernando. Like, what's up, dude? And he's going to just talk to the other tools because I don't need 2 interfaces. And the Coach right now is more friendly for mobile and things like that. So I think that's where he's going to go. Okay. I want to say thank you to all of you guys who've supported me. I want you to understand also that the monetization that exists now is, like I talked about last week a little bit, I'll talk about again. You need to stop feeding the guppies and the goldfish. There are people out there and companies out there who are dying for agentic organizational help. If you look at the whales, the large whales, you will find, even with your limited tools and skill set, everybody's sitting around 500, 1,500, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 25,000 is not big money to everybody. Maybe the 25 is a month, by the way. 5,000 once or a month is not a lot of money to a company for whom you can solve all their modern marketing and CRM problems. Give them an agentic tool that helps them plan and strategize and do stuff. And you can organize and do this in a way that even if you kept it really low key, like just what I showed you today, I took a free site that you host, I charged them $500. I made a homepage that puts up their latest video, gives a lead magnet, takes in their email, puts it to the list, sends it to social. Those are low-hanging fruit items you can do in minutes. And yet you can be paid $500, $1,500, $5,000 because that's how much they're paying to old-fashioned agencies to do that stuff. And you now have the capability to do it. And I'm not going to say my numbers, but I do have 3 or 4 main clients now where, as a strategy, I am going to wrap up the rest of this suite. And I do believe with partnerships like some of you guys here, like John here. John is one of my friends, oldest friends, runs WP Tonic. I was just on his show yesterday. John and I talk about this, so I'm going to share his question. You do not need to do this yourself. You could think about all the people you know, all the companies you know, and say something like this. I know this guy Spence. He's got this crazy thing that will solve all your problems. Let's have a free call with him. Because right now, me trying to explain to all of you the nuances and details requires you to be in a relationship with me that pays me enough, like many of you, like Claude, Claude, VIP, Lloyd, VIP, John, there's some of you, John and Ann are different because I've just been friends with you for a long time, but like, you have to be in such a conversational continuity with me that I'm not going to do that. But like John Denwood here, I said, John, just find people that might match who need these things and get them in a call with me, because that's what's happened for me. Everybody is intuitively knowing what they need. They just can't express it. They can't explain it. I am the concierge at the hotel desk. And here's why this is relevant. I'm still producing the IKEA for everybody to use. I just proved it for free for $97, but I'm not going to be spending any time managing $97 or $197 relationships. Instead, if everybody basically jumps to 5 or 10 or 15, you bring them in, we split the money 50-50. The client gets what they need. I get what I need. You get what you need. And everybody moves on. Everybody needs a specialist. I'm the specialist. You make the relationship and you be the specialist in the relationship. I'll be the specialist in the back end, in the technical. And yes, the tools will be available for everybody to use objectively. That's what we're talking about. But even there, I am not interested likewise in selling at MinuteLaunch. I'm not really interested or excited about $97 a month. I mean, take it, of course. $197 doesn't excite me anymore. $497 gets me out of bed because it's $6,000 a year. What really gets me excited is most people now start at $5 monthly and up. So I've got clients that are 5 or 15 or 25. You got to do a lot of $97 selling to get a $5,000. You got to do even more to get to 10 or 15 or 25. But there are people and companies there who are dying to pay this. When we go to LinkedIn, jobs for AI implementor, okay. Endless amounts of jobs for AI solutions, architect, agents, transformation specialists. That's not everybody, but it's most companies. And when you do that, that is what people are looking for. And you don't want to get a job. I'm just trying to explain to you, these companies are all in a deep hole right now, figuring out who to keep, who to fire, what to use, how to use it. They could be contractors, plumbing companies, or they could be big companies, right? And they're all just, I mean, there's 1,000 jobs paying anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000 a year for somebody who just can do this kind of work. Not suggesting you get a job, but I am suggesting that when you find companies or people, go to them with the idea, I have this guy that knows everything to solve all your problems, just get in a call and I will split it with you 50-50. And you just go find a second one and a third one and a fourth one. And that is how I've gotten all my big clients. They're all from people with whom, like you, I had a relationship. They didn't try to explain it to their clients themselves. They just said, you got to meet this guy Spence. Okay. I love you all. Thank you very much for sitting in. Hopefully today I stayed sort of on track, but we really covered a lot of stuff. And I'm excited for what's to come, including MinuteLaunch Persona, which, by the way, continues to crank out really cool stuff, Claude. But man, until I nail that sucker down, I am not releasing it because it burns tokens, right? I don't want to release something that you come back to me and be like, I'm 500 in the hole because the thing just didn't work right. So I'll be sure that this one does. In the meantime, have fun with the rest, and I'll talk to you guys soon.